Thank you, Marion. Well, the parasha tonight is Vayeitzei. Marion, sorry, I'm on my little phone again. That's fine. That's better. Thank you, Jacob. And Vayeitzei means that he went forth. And we're also talking about another Jacob tonight. Up to this point, we have seen and spoken from the Torah of the generations of Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah. And now last week we started with Jacob and Esau. But tonight's parasha focuses on Jacob, who was really an extraordinary person. What is it that made Jacob, not Abraham or Isaac or Moses, the true father of the Jewish people? We are called the congregation of Jacob, the children of Israel, the Israelites. And even when we regained the land that we had lost, it was called Israel. So that we bear the name of Jacob, as you know. He struggled with the angel and he was called Israel. Yet Jacob did not begin our Jewish journey. Abraham did. Jacob faced no trial as Isaac did with the binding. He did not lead the people out of Egypt or bring them to the Torah as Moses did, although all of his children, sure, they stayed within the faith. But that simply pushes the question again, why did he succeed to be called? Why was he called the father of our nation? Why are we called Israelites? Why not after Abraham or Isaac? It seems that the answer is in this parasha and also the one to follow. Jacob was the man whose greatest visions came to him when he was alone at night, terrified, far from home, fleeing from one danger to the other. Here he was running away in this parasha from Esau, because as you know, Esau threatened to kill him. And he stops and he rests over the night and he has stones for a pillow for his head. And it's here when he's running away, terrified, sleeping on stones, that he has this, I don't know, they call it an epiphany. I suppose it means this magnificent dream. By the way, it's considered the most beautiful poetic dream in terms of literature in the Torah. And he has this dream of angels, as you and I know, coming up and down the ladder, as though God himself were ascending. And when Jacob awakes from his sleep, he said, wow, surely the Lord is in this place. And I wasn't even aware of it. And he said, how awesome is this place? And then in the next parasha, fleeing from Laban, again, and terrified of the prospect of meeting Esau again, and that's the next parasha, he then again wrestles the whole night with an unnamed stranger, and his name is changed. As we know, the stranger said to him, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God. You've struggled with humanity. You have struggled with yourself, and you've overcome. So Jacob called the place Peniel. It is because I saw God face to face, and my life was spared. What he's saying is that in spite of all these unbelievable setbacks and running away and fearing, he lived on. So this is something of a unique quality of great leadership. When his life was at the greatest risk, when anyone else would have given up, he found Hashem. This is the strength that Jacob bequeathed to the Jewish people. And that's why we basically are his people. It is remarkable, isn't it, that this small nation of ours survived tragedies that would have spelled the end for any other people. We survived the destruction of two temples, the Babylonian and the Roman. We survived the persecutions of the Middle Ages, the rise of anti-Semitism horrifically in the 19th century Europe, and the Holocaust. What is remarkable is that after each of these great disasters, Judaism renewed itself, and we achieved even greater than we had before. Yes, I know many lives were lost, but that is inevitable in any tragedy. But our nation lives on. And as we know, you and I are part of this generation, which, Baruch Hashem, when we are no longer here, the next generation will carry on. And I just thought I'd share this with you, that during the Babylonian exile, Judaism deepened its engagement with Torah, just as we are now in this pandemic. Who would have ever thought that we'd have this engagement with our Torah every Shabbat, as we're doing on now in Zoom? So it's amazing. After the Roman destruction, this destruction of the Second Temple, it produced the greatest literary moments of the oral Torah, the Midrash, the Mishnah, the Gemara. So, and of course, as we know, in the Middle Ages, it produced great Jewish minds and philosophers. I think Maimonides, you must correct me if I'm wrong, fits in there. And then just to conclude, mere 3 years after the Holocaust, the Jewish people, our nation, proclaimed the state of Israel. The Jewish returned to history after the darkest night of exile. Leaders suffer crises. This is a given of leadership. And it's terribly stressful for all leaders in every area, be it politics, that is, if they really are sincere and wish to find justice, not only for themselves, but for all. That type of leader suffers terribly. And what we see is, perhaps especially in the area of faith or spirituality, 4 figures in our Tanakh, Moses, Elijah, Jeremiah, and Jonah, actually prayed to die rather than to continue. And many other great leaders have also suffered from the most terrible bouts of depression. Winston Churchill, as you and I know, had the terrible depression he called the Black Dog. So did Abraham Lincoln before. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King attempted suicide when they were younger and experienced Great Depression. And the same can be said of many. That doesn't mean to say a great leader must have a Great Depression, but it does mean that when you and I are, when we're facing the worst moments of our life, or it seems like it, or we're facing stress because people around us, we can't communicate, they not communicate with us, and you want so much to achieve your goal, it is in that moment of stress you must know that Hashem is here, that you will survive as Jacob did, and you will produce something good that the next generation can follow. Why was Jacob chosen? Abraham was serene in the face of many trials. Isaac, as we said last week, was introverted, very quiet, very reserved. But Jacob was the one who endured and persisted no matter what happened to him. And he was scared. He loved, he lost, he got back up again. So this is perhaps why we are named after Jacob. The children in the family of Jacob. And after Jacob, we are named Israelites. Jacob endured the rivalry of Esau, the resentment of Laban, the tension between his wives and his children, the early death of his beloved Rachel, and the loss for 22 years of his favorite son Joseph. And he said to Pharaoh when he met him, "Few and evil have been my days of my life." He didn't think his life was that great. Isn't that amazing? Yet on the way he encountered angels, and whether they were wrestling with him or climbing a ladder, Jacob is the one who is the inspiration and after whom we are named as Israelites. So let me just conclude. I'm virtually within my time here. To try, to fall, to fear, and yet to keep going. That's what it takes to really be a great leader. Jacob, at the lowest ebb of his life, had his greatest visions of Hashem. That is when he found his greatest faith and hope and understanding of a future. He refused to give up. As Herzl has said, if you will it, it is no dream. Shabbat Shalom. Back to you, Marian.